Hey everyone, this is Ken Gruber, and this is the EMUsec podcast. Today we have a whole bunch to go over, having wrapped up both Converge and B-Sides Detroit over the past 3 days.
Yeah, so we have a lot to go over. Guys, this is Jeff Williams. I'm chiming back in on this podcast. We also have another returning guest, Nikita Golubets is on here. Or Golubets, I'm sorry, Nikita, I already messed up.
It's okay, Jeff.
But we have some new guests, and that's what's important. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So, Calvin, why don't you start off?
Hello, I'm Calvin Hedler. I am an EMU student, and I'm also a penetration tester with Networks Group in Ann Arbor.
Hi, I'm Katelyn Coberley. I'm kind of intelligence focused, but I'm also an EMU student, currently going for the
Also an EMU student over here. My name is Gavin Richardson, obviously studying information security.
Yeah, so obviously we have some new guests. Unfortunately, Shane can't join us this evening, so that's the only one that's missing from last week's. Like Ken mentioned, we had Converge, B-Sides Detroit this week. Unfortunately, I didn't get to attend the first 2 days. We do have some individuals that got to attend Converge side, and then a lot of us were, or actually all of us were at B-Sides today. So why don't we let the guys and lady that were at Converge this week talk about your experience at Converge.
I think just like one point I kind of want to bring up because it like goes into B-Sides is that we participated in a CTF as a team, True EMU. They had a CTF rolling for the 3 days of the conferences, and we placed pretty well. I guess maybe we'll talk about that later, but it was really fun doing that. And there was really good speakers for both Converge and B-Sides. Converge, one that really stuck out with, for me, was Taz from Talos, which I believe is a Cisco security branch or someone who works with. Not totally. Can someone help me out? How Talos works with Cisco? Either way, they do like Cisco security, and she did a really great talk on malware management. She has to do like 3 talks at Converge and B-Sides, which was pretty cool. It was a practical walkthrough in developing threat intelligence and her process of taking all the data that she had, finding basically evidence within that data of being able to figure out threat intelligence that's relevant to her organization, which is really great because that's Cisco and that's quite a large percentage of internet users. So really good stuff, and it was very insightful. Yeah. I don't know if anyone else had like a specific talk that stuck out.
I really liked the keynote for the day 2 of Converge, Ben 10's talk, where he talked about going between a blue team to a red team environment and sort of mentality. I really liked how he talked about focusing the priority on detection testing rather than just making sure that you're deflecting the attacks as a company and as an environment coming in as a pen tester or as just a security person. Being able to make sure you can test how the team responds and actually record that seems kind of interesting. A little bit of a roundabout on the way that it's typically thought of, where it's mostly just, are they protected? So I thought that was fun.
Definitely.
Nikita, do you have a talk you want to highlight from Converge?
Yeah, I enjoyed the social engineering talk. He talked a lot about social engineering things.
Thanks, Nikita. That was such a good review. I appreciate that. So obviously we talked. Ken already mentioned it. So we did have, and if you are from the last episode, you will know a lot of us are from the EMU security group, and the individuals that attended the first couple days of the Converge made a team called #TrueEMU. It's kind of like the motto of our school. It's kind of like what they're pushing for a marketing campaign. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about the CTF the first couple days?
It was really fun. It was my first CTF I ever did, and I didn't know it would have stuff other than just network and packet-wise, actually capturing like legitimate flags. So that was pretty fun, learning all about how the CTF works.
I really liked the diversity and the challenges that they provided for the CTF. Like they provided history, crypto, data, a whole bunch of other ones. And I think they added one in the like middle of the CTF or near the end of it or something like that.
Yep.
And it was like really nice. Some of them were pretty challenging in terms of like they'd give you like a couple of them were XIF, and I kind of like got the more or less the gist of the image ones were like they had, metadata and EXIF stuff, so you just had to run it through an EXIF tool, and then you could figure out the next step in the flag, or you got the flag. But they had some other ones like the history one, which I know Katelyn was tackling a lot of.
I really like those. They were pretty fun. So most of them just consisted of like an image, and then they also had a encrypted sort of code, most of them do with numbers, some of them had letters in them, and then you had to figure out what the connection was between the two of them. I like how they had such a variety though. There was like a Polybius cipher, there was the common ciphers. Like I think one of them was a shift cipher, so it was kind of cool. The really tough one that apparently nobody got at the end, like at all, out of all the teams that competed, was the last one with the Enigma machine. And that was apparently some 18th century guy created a 26 by 26 grid with letters and numbers. So nobody got that one, and it's clear to see why, because that was just an incredible amount of guesswork to get to that if you didn't get that one clue. So it was really fun, though. I like that part.
Yeah, and obviously you guys did pretty well because you guys, we finished fourth, right? You guys represent the EMU, and you took fourth overall. Yep. I think there was 22 teams total.
23 teams, just checked.
23. So, yeah, good job, guys. That's super awesome. And, I kind of wish I was able to participate or help out. I was busy things with work. I know Calvin was busy on an engagement too, but very, very good. Very good job.
Yeah, definitely. And then B-sides, which is this basically, so if anyone doesn't know who's listening, there's Converge, which is 2 days. It was Thursday and Friday of this year. This is the first time I ever went. And then they have a Saturday, which is basically a different conference, but B-sides run by the same people, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and really cool. So all of us went to B-sides, so we can all contribute to the B-sides conversation. Sure. I don't know if you want any specific stuff that stuck out, other than like Calvin gave a talk at B-sides. I don't know if you want to speak on that, Calvin.
Yeah, I gave a talk on my experiences after my first year of doing pen testing professionally. My goal was to give a talk that I would have liked to see 1.5 to 2 years ago when I was looking for pen test jobs, when I was looking at getting into practicing offensive security professionally. So I explained, what I've learned over the past 1.5 years, what some of the things that I've done as a pen tester, some of the things that I've learned not to do as a pen tester. That sort of thing.
Definitely. I thought it was really interesting about your talk, or at least for the talks that I attended for Converge and B-sides. Something kind of interesting about your talk is that there were so many people who had questions for you afterwards. They were really interested in like the pen testing, because it's kind of like almost like a sexy job in the information assurance world in a way, kind of compared to rock stars in some way, for maybe both good and bad reasons. But like, I really think it's a really cool job in what you do with the service that a pen tester provides for a company, the insight that they can provide for a company, especially if it's a good pen test, like you're in educating them, as you talked about, which I was really appreciative of hearing that side more, which I think you were kind of asking more of in your talk, more of the education side, what you can do after you get shells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's I think something that not enough people focus on in pen testing is that it's not about being the rock star. It's not about breaking stuff and having fun with it. It's about doing your job, and it's about being the best that you can be so that you give your client the best results that they can get. I think that's something that not enough people stress in pen testing talks, so I tried to emphasize that point pretty well.
No, I think you, honestly, just to kind of chime in on what Ken said, I think it went really well. The thing that I think I really appreciated most about your talk was kind of like, you literally stated, like, it's not about being a rock star. It's not being about the man of the show or, like, the woman of the show. It's about your team. It's like your team effort, and it's also about your relationship with your client. I think that was a really good thing to touch base on, because prior to going into this DFIR gig I'm doing now, I was in the consulting realm, and I did like, I think 2 to 3 pen tests, and it was super awkward for me, especially. Postmortems were never fun. The client relationship was something the company I was working for didn't really have a handle on. And I guess I could take blame for that because that's maybe something I'm supposed to establish with the client. But especially as being someone that's very new and mostly blue team oriented, like I'm very blue team oriented. I do have some red experience, but when I got thrown into my first engagement, it was so like just the awkwardness of the whole situation. I didn't really feel too good. And I think the C levels at the client we were pen testing, like that was super awkward because I don't think they were the best management to begin with from that aspect. But I really like the fact that you didn't dive in so much of like the tool side of things and like, oh, this is how I'm going to get shells and I'm going to show you how to get shells. Like you really just talked the theory behind it. I think it was super awesome, man. I really loved the crowd. They obviously loved it. They were, I'm sure companies can get pinged from like 10 to 15 companies next week. But yeah, awesome. Yeah, awesome job, man.
It's really good to get a lot of questions about that. This talk definitely was not one of the more technical oriented talks, which I do enjoy giving, but I thought that it was important to give this sort of talk to basically help people in the same position that I was in a year ago or a year and a half ago.
And what I thought was very interesting about it, you had this very diverse audience and you actually kept them all rapidly engaged for the whole talk. I mean, it was everything from people who were much younger than us as college students, it seems like, to people who have probably been in the field for a while. They might be very, very blue team and want to get a glimpse of the other side, or they wanted to sort of see what they would be hiring if they were hiring somebody like you.
Yeah, I tried to stress that, of course, this is dependent on the fact that I don't have a ton of experience, but like I said, I'm just trying to help people who are in my position, like other college students, other people who have been in the field but maybe not doing pen testing and want to get into it. I think it's important for them to realize that it's not all fun and games. It's a very serious thing, and we do make a difference out there every day, even while we're having fun doing pen testing. It's fun to go out and break things and pop shells and steal data and all of that, but at the end of the day, you're doing a job and you have to do it well and you have to communicate it well.
No, definitely, man. Like I said, good talk again. I think the point I loved most about your talk was when you brought up the vulnerability scanning and how that's not a pen test. Like I literally just want to I just wanted to stand up and clap because honestly, even the companies that were competing with the consulting company I was going to, like clients were like asking us what makes us different from other companies. And I'm like, and they were talking about vulnerability scans. I'm like, they're literally going to give you a generated report that they run once and they don't even build the report themselves. And that's what they're giving to you. Like, and you're going to be paying this much money for that. Like they're not going to do any poking. They're not going to do anything like that. So I thought that was another awesome point of your talk.
I actually want to take that as an opportunity to refer to one of the case studies that I used in my talk for a large retailer because that's the perfect example of the disconnect between clients and pen testers. When a company hires one of these big four audit firms like Deloitte or PwC or something like that, very often these bigger organizations will give you a Nessus scan and maybe a little bit of exploitation in their pen test. 500 pages of vulnerabilities doesn't really help anybody. If they want Nessus scans, they should be able to run them for themselves. And in this particular engagement, it was a very large organization, $10 billion plus in revenue every year. And they said that they'd had pen tests in the past, but they didn't get anything on their network. They ran scans, they gave them the report, but they didn't actually exploit anything. They didn't get deep into their network. And we had domain admin on the first day of the pen test before lunchtime. It's a huge disconnect that I see between what a lot of companies offer as pen testing and what I believe actual pen testing is, and that's what we try to focus on a lot.
Yeah, like I said, I think it went well, man, and that's really awesome to hear. And I think that's like something more red teamers, like you said earlier, like they need to do. And I think that's awesome that you're kind of like pioneering that, at least in our community, right, the Southeast Michigan area. So kudos to you, man.
Like kind of speaking of like the area, I think the keynote for B-sides, like kind of speaking on that by Robert Leal, I believe that's how you pronounce the last name. Talking about car hacking and kind of challenging like people of this area to like the Detroit Motor City kind of thing about car hacking, kind of introducing us to that. I feel like that was another really strong talk.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I think Katelyn brought up something right before, we started up this podcast, and apparently he wasn't even supposed to be the keynote speaker.
Really?
Yeah, he was supposed to give a talk right after the keynote, actually, so he just stepped up and started doing that one, which was kind of cool.
So he absolutely killed it, man. I think that was a great way to start off. I mean, you want to talk technical, like, kind of talks, and, like, we've seen technical talks, I'm sure we all have, that kind of, like, try to dive into it, but at the same time, there's things lacking. I think not only did he have the technical side, he also, like Ken mentioned, like, he kind of appealed to us, right? Why we should care about this stuff. Not just as people who drive these vehicles, but as, like, in the Southeast Michigan region, Motown, that kind of thing. I think he did a really awesome job, though. Definitely.
That was actually Atlas of Doom, by the way. That was the keynote.
Okay.
But yeah, very, very interesting sort of take on it. The fact that he did, and I think rightfully so, bring Detroit back as sort of, we need to be at the forefront of this. We are Detroit Motor City. This is our blood, essentially. We need to be the forefront.
And I like how he gave us so he kind of gave us like some insight into like the CAN bus system or like the history of the cars. Like he started like, we decided to add technology to cars, that mechanical thing, like, and he brought up like the mechanically cranking the engine and stuff like that. And then he sort of gave us a general insight into like the framework of like what's going on behind that like magic that I don't really think about when I drive a car. I don't like personally. I turn on the key and then it drives and I go places. I don't drive anymore because I don't have a car. But like I think then he gave us the tools. So I really like how it was almost the introduction to car hacking in a way. It was really it was strong. To reiterate that point. But yeah,
I can't remember if he mentioned at the end of this talk or the other version I heard him speak at, but his group actually that I was working with, they have a car hacking lab, which is kind of cool. Like that's a thing that exists, and it's not the only one that exists too. It's like they're out there. It's just the fact that we aren't hearing more news about it, I feel is kind of like our duty as, to make other people aware. Not even just other information security people, but, the general public too. Like talk about it with your family, talk about it with your friends. Say, hey, do you know that if I hook something up to this wire underneath the tires in your car, like check out what I can do. Kind of scary, but it's very effective.
Yeah, and especially being Michigan, Southeast Michigan especially, there are a lot of people who do that, who work for the big automotive companies. They're just not talking about it very much.
And if anyone listening wants to like learn more about like car hacking or anything like that, just because he has great information, he has a website actually, canbushack.com. Not sure if malware, because I didn't really go into it, but go to a link, see what happens,
Yeah, definitely. So I guess like going from there, other than the keynote, let's talk a little bit about our favorite talks of the day. Other than Calvin's, obviously, right? Everyone's gonna say that. You guys support. It was a good talk. I think honestly, the talk that I enjoyed the most, now that I look back on it, is probably the last talk of the day, talking about research, right, and the theory behind that. And it was all really theory based. I think that it was Andrew Hayes, right?
Yeah,
is the speaker.
Yeah, he did the bootstrapping security research for Epic one.
Like, how awesome was that, man? Like, I literally left that talk, like, especially this past week, I've been doing so much research for work and looking into malware sandboxing and analysis and how much of that, like, I literally left there like, yes, this is my project. I'm gonna make it, mine. And I don't know. I felt so empowered by it, and I thought it was really cool because he wasn't just like giving, like he gave theory. It was mostly theory, but like he's relating it to the projects that he worked on the technical side. And I really appreciate that. And like overall, even though, he did run kind of long, it was definitely one of the longer presentations. I felt like the plethora of information that came out of it was just stupid awesome.
I like also just like he brought up Ruby and Python. Like there was some Python talk at Convergent B-Sides, but as far as I heard, he was the only one that brought up Ruby, and I enjoyed that about him quite a bit.
Yeah, I heard you like Ruby. Kind of.
I heard I like Ruby too. And R, which just because he does Python and Ruby, and I'm now doing Python and Ruby, I think I'm going to do R now, just because he inspires me. That's why I choose my languages.
Nice. What about the rest of everybody? Like, what were your favorite talks of the day?
I would actually say it was the keynote with the car hacking.
All right.
That's cool. Katelyn, what about you?
I would kind of agree with the last talk of the day, just from because I'm interested in the field of security research and kind of learning of Andrew Hayes' process, how he goes about it. And I really like that one part. I think I tweeted about it where he said it's if you can answer the question, can you use it? And I think that's really important to think about when you start digging deep into anything. If you're just doing it for the fun of it, that's one thing. But if you're trying to set out to find some information, how can you use that? How can you make that useful to the public, or at the very least the InfoSec community? So that was cool. I think that was a poignant bit to take from that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think expanding on that, just like there's so many projects I've seen where it's like you look at what they're trying to accomplish and do, and like, okay, well, what benefit does that have? Like, yeah, it might be a cool little tool, it might be kind of cool, but like at the end of the day, like what does it service? Like, what does it do to make us better? What does it do to make the community better, kind of thing? Or just even like the world, right? Society. What are you contributing to it? So I think that was a good thing that I took away from his for his speech as well. So Calvin, Nikita, one of you guys want to talk about your favorite talk?
I will be honest, I did not have time to see any talks. I was busy with the other CTF and catching up with friends that I haven't seen in too long. So
fair. That's another really good part about these conferences, though, networking and the friends that are going there. Like, I didn't know quite a few of the people that ended up people I was hanging out with. I didn't know half of them were going to show up to the conferences. So it was really nice that I get that part of it. It's kind of like a really big reason to go, I think.
Yeah, for sure. One of the biggest things that I think helped me land the jobs that I have is networking, going to conferences, talking to people, making friends, making connections. That's what really gets you jobs in security. That's one of the most important pieces of advice I give to people. Go to conferences, meet people, make friends on Twitter, all that sort of stuff.
Do a podcast.
Yeah, I hear podcasts are pretty cool.
I don't know.
They're all right, I guess.
Eventually we should do one. But
what about you, Nikita? What was your favorite talk of the day?
I would have to say it's the last one. I mean, it's my first year as an IA student, so it gave me a good outline on what to research, how to research everything, and what I should be researching, because I didn't really know how the research process should be done beforehand. And I really think he gave a great outline for that. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think you touched on a good point. I mean, I've done research in the past, but there's just something about the way he laid out his methodology that kind of clicked to him. Like, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess it's almost like you would think it would be basic and kind of recognizable things that you'd say, oh, well, if this, X and Y, then Y, this. But at the same time, like the way he laid it out, it just, I don't know. Like, I obviously just from the confirmation around the, this podcast, like all the individuals, like it seems like that talk kind of touched everyone today, right? In some sort of way. And I think that it's a great thing. So I get what you're talking about, Nikita. And I mean, the fact that you went to B-sides your first year as an IASA, I'm like, I'm literally done probably at the end of summer. You know, I'm in the field, and that was my first B-side. So the fact that you're getting in there at such a young, you know, part of your growth in this community, like, I think that's just super awesome. And that's just going to benefit you even more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot. It was a learning experience for sure.
Cool. So does anyone want to touch base on anything else from the cons, or should we move on to the next topic?
I guess I'd like to just add that I thought the other CTF that was running, the run by a group called EMUsec, was a very cool experience. It's something that I don't think anybody's done before. It's kind of a mixture of a capture the flag and a like an attack defense style capture the flag and a card game. I don't want to say too much to spoil it for anybody who might try it out for themselves. But it was a great experience. I had a lot of fun, even though I ended up getting booted off by another player about 30 minutes in, just because, you know, I had a target on my back. Everybody was scared. I'll just keep telling myself. No, it was a lot of fun. It was a great time. I definitely recommend checking it out if you're ever at a conference where it's being held. They're a great bunch of people, and they're doing cool stuff with their CTFs.
Awesome. Yeah, obviously I didn't get too much time. Well, I just didn't really check it out too much by the time they were already competing. The doors were closed when I even thought about it. But kind of I'm going to backtrack even that just as we wrap up this con talk, and we're going to talk about the networking thing, right? I agree with Calvin. The jobs I've landed and the internships have all been from just networking. And I think that really speaks to something, especially when you have an event like this. I met a lot of people today that I've only known from Twitter, right? That I've only seen their tweets or anything, but you kind of learn oh, that's, you introduce yourself and you guys kind of just pick up on things. And I think that's really awesome. Obviously, due to my last job and other things, I really haven't been too much involved in the MySec group or ARBSec for that matter, or had the chance to go to very all the local talks and cons. So as someone that was just my first B-sides, I loved it. The people I met, I'm glad I met them, just the networking and I don't know, even just hanging out there with you guys, right? I think it was a super awesome time. We kind of got to just get our nerd on, learn some things, and I'm really excited for DEF CON and Black Hat now.
Yeah, but a bunch of you guys are going out of the people in this group. I'm not, but I know you guys are excited.
I'm too excited. I've been preparing for the past 3 months, dude. I'm hyped. I'm hyped. I registered for every single Black Hat and DEF CON party, I think every single one. So
I'm really excited for some of the talks that are going to come up. I've heard a few people talking about stuff they're going to present, and actually there's one which may or may not actually get presented. That's actually on this program called Can Spy, and it's supposed to be it's an app that you can download, a free app that the people putting on the talk created that will tell you everything that's vulnerable in your car. So it's kind of off that CAN bus system, kind of a play on words there. But I think it'll be really exciting to see if the talk actually does go on. I was talking to one of the people I keep contact with, and they said that it might actually get removed from the program because it hasn't actually been released to other people that should be looking over it first. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what they present on, if it does end up getting talked about. I can send you guys a link to that one.
Yeah, definitely. That actually sounds super awesome. Yeah, from the standpoint, I'm not going to get a chance really to attend Black Hat at all. I'm mostly going to be doing a lot of networking at the parties. My company's got me going to a few of them. That's just strictly to AIS related. But I'm also really super looking for DEF CON. I'm kind of upset that I didn't win that DEF CON badge, cough, duo, cough. So I'm not sure if you guys saw this week, but Duo Labs is running a contest for a free DEF CON badge to the person who posts the most punniest InfoSec summer song, and I had some pretty good submissions. Not gonna lie.
Jeff's were really punny. They're incredible.
I mean, I wouldn't say incredible. I didn't win, but I mean, the people voted. They hit that heart button, and kind of salty about it.
I saw those like 8 likes. You got a lot of likes on it. I don't know.
You got some few retweets.
Yeah,
but it's okay. I'm honestly looking forward to that. DEF CON stuff gonna be my bread and butter that week. That's what I'm going for. That's obviously what I'm should be living there, and then obviously the parties throughout the other amount of times. But it kind of sucks because my flight's at 6 a.m. on Sunday, which kind of means I'm going to miss out on the last day of the event, which I guess could be in the history of DEF CON, what I've noticed, that's when a lot of great talks happen. So I'm kind of bummed out about that, but I'm just excited for the experience, really. Also, Duo, if you are for some reason listening to this and you want to redeem yourself and give me a DEF CON badge, that's totally fine too.
You can also retweet us.
Yeah, for sure.
Promote this.
Shameless self-promotion.
The most shameless self-promotion I've ever. Other than, speaking of shameless self-promotion, Jerry Bell, Defensive Security Podcast, retweeted because they didn't post a podcast last week. I was so happy. I was just like, what if I tweet at him? Maybe, I don't know, maybe someone will look at it. I don't know. And then he retweeted it. And then we had a little DM, slid in that DM, and then it was a good time.
Yeah, he definitely wrecked me. I think I tweeted out something and added him, and I was like, Jerry Bell just retweeted our podcast link, Life Complete. And I think he responded with something like, I don't know if I should feel extremely honored or you need to set new life goals. And I was just like, oh.
Yeah,
wow. Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. Definitely awesome that he took the time to even retweet that, right? So
yeah, clicking buttons, man.
Well, I mean, especially someone like Jerry Bell, like he could have just ignored it.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? So kudos to him.
Well, I DM'd him. I said thank you because I was like, he didn't have to do that at all. Like it was like I kind of felt weird tweeting about the podcast, but I want people to listen. I don't know. It's a weird thing that I haven't figured out my feelings of yet. If that makes sense.
Speaking of sliding to the DMs of people, I heard you met somebody this week that you're pretty fond of.
Oh, Iron Geek? Yeah. He's great. Oh my gosh. So he's like a mystical creature for me on the online InfoSec community because he posts so much helpful information. I follow him on Twitter. He's really he provides a lot and he does a lot for the community that I love so much of. So I really love him. I really love what he does. And he talked to me I was doing this little OCD. I was like, he was running this lock picking table thing. You can go lock pick different varieties, lock different skill level essentially, and even showed us some cool little hacks with it when he came over the table. I was aligning them kind of OCD style because I don't know why that's what I do. And then he came over and he just out of nowhere, I recognized his voice immediately just because I listen to his talks all the time. And he was like, oh, it'll be a little OCD there. And I was just like, oh yeah, yes I am. And I input a little, less than I did with Movix, but whatever.
Yeah. So just for a little preference at ISTS. This past year, Kent had a moment.
Yeah, I recognized him from the back of because I saw the Hack 5 thing and I was just but it was the hat, because he has his Movix hat, and I was from behind. I was like, that's Movix, that's Movix hat. And then I couldn't contain myself. I watch a lot of YouTube videos of this stuff online, man. I don't know, those are my celebrities. Those are the people that I look up to because I also like the idea of sharing what I learned, the research that I do. I like what they're doing a lot. I really appreciate it because it really helped me. It really did, and so it has such a big influence. And I listen to the talks or the walkthroughs constantly, just because it's really entertaining to me.
So I get you. I think that's cool too, right? You go to these events or you go to something like ISTS and you meet these people who are prominent in the community and they kind of just treat you as normal. We kind of look at them as celebrities, but that's because we're a bunch of InfoSec nerds. This is our space, right? To us, we put them on that level. But then you meet them, that you talk to them, and they're just normal people. And I think that's the real cool thing. They can just sit there and talk to you, about things. And I get what you're saying, but yeah, ISCS was hilarious. Ken literally grappled my arm when he saw Mubix and was hitting Jeff. And I'm like, I get it, I know it's Mubix.
Well, because I knew he was going to be red team. I was super excited because I was like, he's gonna attack me. That's so exciting. That's what was it wasn't just because he's Mubix. It was just the idea that this guy that was teaching me Metasploit and stuff like that, teaching me red team tactics, is now going to do those red team tactics on me. That was great. I was super excited for that challenge. I was really excited for that being applied to me. I don't know.
Yeah, that red team that red team wrecked us anyways. They had a nice arsenal, nice lineup. They completely wrecked everybody.
Spoilers, I think Mubix got 10 shells on each one of our boxes.
That's what red teams do, after all.
Shane and I held one box down though. Our Kale box, it definitely got owned. But we held it, we were fighting on it, and we were killing processes, doing whatever we could do to but we were obviously owned. So there's only so much we could do, but we kept it up for a while. It felt good. We were 2-man sniper team.
Hey, it's all good. You guys redeemed. You took 4th at CTF here.
Yeah.
This week. So hey, it doesn't even matter.
True.
Cool. Well, I guess from there, we should bring up this little article, of basically if someone that owns a website tells you they don't want you visiting your website, and you do, it's considered trespassing and it's against the law. I know we were talking about this a little bit, and Calvin said it's really not surprising. So Calvin, do you want to shed some light on that?
Well, I mean, the way the current state of hacking laws in the U.S. are, the major one is the CFAA, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. And it's originally from the 80s. It has not really aged well, as you might imagine. Being 30-some years old, it's clearly not going to be relevant because technology has just progressed so much since then, and it was very broad even when it was first created. But as it's worded, if you access
Uh-oh, I think we lost
Calvin. Oh God, they stopped him.
It's the man.
The man.
He's still showing in the Hangout call, so...
Do you think he got hacked?
No, I think it's just dropped.
Definitely.
Let's just escalate that, right? That just escalated really quickly.
I don't know, man. Threat models? I don't know.
Well, we'll see if he can hop back on here in a second. I know he's having some technical difficulties earlier with the Hangout. But yeah, just touching base on that, we all know that the cybercrime laws surrounding all the regulations, they're so outdated. I mean, things are so broad. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, just for this though, how ridiculous is that, right? You can't tell someone not to view your website. That's like you sitting outside doing something in public, right? In a public area. And then you're telling people not to look at you.
Right.
When they walk by, you scream at them, don't look at me.
Well, it's kind of the get off my lawn mentality, which still perpetuates in a lot of places. Perpetuates, wow. Sorry, yeah, words.
No, yeah, right, though. I literally read that the other day, and it was off a tweet. And I was like, that can't be serious. I literally just, and I clicked the link, and it was, this excerpt from, whatever district or, I don't know, some court. And I was like, there's no way. And I was like, I don't believe this. And then I saw those from the Washington Post. Now, we can sit here and debate the accuracy of media all we want. But I would say Washington Post, for the most part, I mean, if they're going to put something out like that, there's some facts, right? And then I dug into it. And I was like, wow, this is actually a thing. And as you guys saw, I shared it on our Slack in the news section. And I was like, just what's WTF, right? What is this? Is this real? I don't know, man. It's ridiculous. You would think as technology progresses, and we all know how I feel about the privacy issues, right, surrounding technology and things, and I learned a lot about the regulations and laws. And something like this, to actually see a judge make a ruling like that, like, it's just disheartening. And I don't know, man.
It does look like it wasn't just straight, like, visiting a site. I mean, that's what the ruling is implying. But it was like an API call against Facebook, scraping contact information, it looks like. And I mean, that is a little bit different than regular web traffic. But like I said, the ruling implies that just visiting a site can be considered a crime now.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they make that, it's going, and that's what Calvin was saying, the way it's written, right? So if the ruling like that, it just shows that other things can go down like that. Now that this case has been ruled that way, you're going to see a lot more other cases that are going to highlight that. Exactly.
Well, also, now, and I have a question, just really quickly. I didn't get a chance to really read the article, but how are they meant to make sure people are compliant with this rule, the not looking rule? Like, how are they enforcing that?
I don't think they will. Or, you know, if they go after, it'd have to be the website going after these people. It's not going to be like the internet police are going to come knocking on your door.
What about like ISP level? Like if they were just, I don't know.
I could see that.
That could be like, and like, it's also, isn't there precedent for that? So like,
yeah,
you're technically doing something very illegal. Like,
not very, I don't know.
Well, like,
so we're
illegal,
gonna block,
not,
we're gonna
you know what I mean? It's felony. It's a felony, if I'm not mistaken.
No, there's anything under that. Yeah.
So that's very illegal.
Truth. Felonies are bad.
And so, like, if I'm, you know, trying to get an ISP to work with me, I say, yo, I'm trying to capture so many felons right now. I
think it'll eventually be like DCMA, though. The ISPs may be required to prompt the user, let them know what's going on, but it might end there. You can't really require an ISP to become a police force.
I mean, and if we think about it, I mean, how are you going to stop someone from visiting your site? IP blocking? I mean, what's that really going to do, though? Right? Like, there's so many ways around that. Whether it's VPN, whether it's proxies. And if honestly someone, you know, if someone were to do that to me, I would just troll the shit out of them.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I guess it comes back to, is this really just kind of like one of those like motions on paper, or like, because if the impact is just finding new ways around it, is it useful at all?
I think we'll have to wait and see a little bit. I mean, nothing has really come of it. From the article that I'm reading, it looks like they're going to be forced to stop, but nothing else is really going to come of it. But it depends on how it's handled in future cases, really.
And then, Gavin, you said this stemmed from actually people scraping contact info from Facebook.
It looks like there was a service that would go and scrape all your social media, and
isn't there a bunch of them now?
Yeah, but I mean, all right, so let's look at it this way. Again, it's like you put it out in the public. We're not all like completely oblivious to open source intelligence. Like the things you can gather just from what people from the public, like, you get what I mean? Like if it's already out there, how can you, I don't know.
Well, maybe we know that because like that's stuff that like we'll go look at, you know, but maybe other people don't know that that's so readily available, and that scares them, which isn't a good thing. But like I can imagine that being sort of like an end user argument against having that kind of information so readily available to people, whilst it would add like kind of, I don't know, a layer of like obfuscation in a weird way if you have to go write your own Python script or go download something off of GitHub instead of using like a website, if that makes any sense. It's still against the law, but like, I don't know, like, do you get what I'm saying?
I guess if you don't want, I don't know. So, Gavin, going back to that, was it Facebook that pushed that motion for that case then? Or was it a user that got their media or their information retrieved from it?
I'm reading from the Hacker News. On discovering this activity, Facebook blocked the Power API's app access to its website and user data, as well as sent a cease and desist letter to the Scammy service telling the company to stop. It looks like what they're doing is they were looking at your contacts on Facebook and then sending them a message to come join their site.
Okay.
I mean, I can get it, but umbrellaing it under something like that is going to open up a lot of bad shit.
Exactly. It's
in the future.
Slippery slope.
So, I don't know, anyone else got anything to add to this before we kind of move on to the next topic? Thanks also, Gavin, for actually looking that up.
Yeah, no
yes,
problem.
thank you. Sources are helpful. Oh, and then Calvin, just because he just died out on us for a second or for a while here. He messaged me. He had a power outage and he's booting now. So he's probably going to rejoin us, but just giving a little update to that.
Okay. I guess maybe while we wait for him to rejoin, if it's going to be soon, we can just talk about random things. So I dove into Cuckoo this week.
Yeah, Cuckoo.
So Cuckoo Sandbox is pretty nice. Anyone that's kind of DFIR, malware analysis, I definitely recommend it. I will say that it's a very humbling experience. Regardless how you feel about your Linux skills, your InfoSec knowledge, it basically took me, 18 hours? 18 hours around then. I mean, granted, I was doing other things throughout the day. I guess the one thing I will highlight about it is just, if you feel comfortable on Linux, trust yourself. Trust yourself. Don't be lazy. Just build it. Roll it out yourself. I tried a couple auto install scripts, and it's my fault, right? I probably should have looked at the code first, but lazy, right? So I kind of just rolled them. They broke everything. Or not everything. One broke everything. The other one just didn't work. So I guess from that, in addition, we can definitely touch base on Cuckoo at another time, more in depth, especially things what I'm doing with it, professionally. But I'm going to make an auto install script that works. I know Kent has more programming knowledge than I do. Someone that hasn't been featured on this podcast yet, but probably will be in the future, Peter, who's also in our EMU security group, is another pretty good programmer. So I'm going to kind of build an auto install script, have those guys review it, make sure it's kind of good, written as lightweight as possible. And yeah, that'll be my kind of first code submission / contribution to that project, and kind of breaking my grounds with the programming side of things. I think it'll be good. I think it's needed. I think in addition to that too, I'll probably do some kind of YouTube tutorials, or maybe if I ever get around to making a blog, I'll blog about it, right? But
definitely that's going to, I think, needed for Cuckoo at the moment, just based on because I was doing, when you mentioned that you were having trouble with Cuckoo, I was like, all right, well then I basically just kind of hopped on to be I'll do it with you in a way, in terms of I'll also kind of do it alongside with you. That way, almost troubleshooting, I have a question I can ask, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that was a really fun, I can mention my VM breaking inside a VM, but whatever. I think Cuckoo needs more documentation from the community of people that are using Cuckoo right now, or like us, for example. I think having and sharing the information of how you installed it, how you got things set up, is really helpful, because there hasn't been a lot of stuff recently. And for example, the Kali image of Cuckoo that they have listed in their tool listing or whatever is there, but hasn't been updated for a while. There's Cuckoo's out there and it's popular, but there just seems to be this lacking update or community-driven updates for right now, which has been interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also because, malware sandboxes, analysis platforms, you're looking at pretty much, honestly, Lastline dominating that space. Lastline's a commercial product. They do a good job. I know in my previous job, we worked with a business partner that implemented Lastline, and it did what it was supposed to do. But I guess from my standpoint, what I love about Cuckoo so much, not only it being an open source project, and that brings up the issues of documentation, right, Kat?
Right.
Any open source project, that's going to be the downfall, right? This is something these guys do in their free time.
Mm-hmm.
You can't expect it to be perfect, but I don't know. I think.
Well, when it says download these things and you make other things,
Yeah, it literally in the when we kind of talking about, there's literally a part in the documentation that says you will need certain dependencies, and it said such as, and it literally lists like 3, and this is, but you will need many others.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, Dad.
What are the others?
Yeah, like, can you help me out?
Can I has them, please?
But yeah, that was fun, man. We got it working. 4 a.m. I started screaming, jumping around.
What?
My mom looked at me like I was crazy. I told her I was a wizard.
At one point, my actual you did it on kind of a different way that I did. I had my gaming machine, and I decided to put a VMware Workstation on that because I had enough RAM, did enough power to run virtual machines, no problem. And my host died, so my laptop just decided to die at one point. I guess I didn't allocate enough resources or so. I don't know what happened, but it just died all of a sudden. I was running VMware Workstation, and inside that I had Ubuntu, and I had my Cuckoo set up on that. And then inside of that Ubuntu, I had VirtualBox, and this is where it gets kind of like VM Inception, I know. And then I had Windows 7 Service Pack 1 inside that VirtualBox. So I was running Windows and running a VM inside of Linux, so I could run another Windows OS, which was weird and very Inception-y. And that blue screen, I think, twice, which was really weird. And it didn't blue screen like a normal way. It was a different blue screen. But yeah, definitely all sorts of interesting stuff. And Cuckoo definitely drives you a little cuckoo in terms of you trying to get it to work and work properly.
Honestly, I think
in the permissions, which isn't clearly specified.
I think something that you probably noticed too is like you hear me like struggle over this, right? You're like, what? Like, it's probably just something he's missing, right? Like he's just not. And then like you start rolling, and I remember at one point you literally were just like, this is a lot harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what I came to, man. Like I literally was doubting like life in general, my skills, and I was like, I'm in the wrong field. I can't do this. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then you look online, everyone's like, oh, I need this module, right? I need this. And you're like, how did you even get it running? And now you're talking modules. But I guess that's another thing we should touch base on, since I mentioned the commercial aspects. The fact with Cuckoo that you can actually roll out your own modules.
Yeah.
Because it's open source and it's Python. Put some Python knowledge into it. Anything you want, you can tailor it. And I think that's the amazing thing about it.
And from what I could tell from the project, it's very, or at least for the code that I went through, because I like code, it's a very human readable project. They did a very good job from what I can tell. I'm impressed, and I really liked what they came up with, and I'm interested in building some stuff on top of it, both on like a command line application side to like kind of expand on some of that aspects of Cuckoo, and also they have a Django, I call it Django, but Django I think is how you pronounce it, Python web framework, which you can do some like GUI tasks in a web browser environment. So you can look at all the modules and how they set that up. And I'm interested in kind of building my own modules into that and doing my own analytics on top of that, because that seems really interesting. I really like the framework they already have set up. So, and it's Bootstrap, it looks pretty awesome.
And most importantly, no SQL.
Right, MongoDB, which I've given talk on. I really like MongoDB. I really like the simplicity of that. I like the idea of JSON in many ways, though I've kind of transitioned to my YAML love, but whatever.
Cool, yeah. I think definitely we'll have to touch more base on it in the future, especially because right now, like, we just kind of went on a little rant just to give a little overview, but we'll definitely be highlighting it in a future episode, and I'll probably do a screen share, kind of demonstrate how it works, just because I think it's something anyone that's even remotely interested in DFIR, that space, it's definitely something you need to look into.
And because we went on this rant, because Calvin was maybe going to come back, one little update to that, Calvin saying that his internet, or his ISP isn't coming back up right now. So, or at least his service from the ISP isn't coming back up right now. So that's interesting. Don't know if he's going to come back now. The man is trying to keep him down.
Right, we said too much.
Exactly.
I guess we can just move on. Does anyone have anything they want to highlight?
Oh, I had one kind of like dev idea come about from B-Sides today, where I decided to start deving on that on Nikita's computer. I like the ideas that these conferences and like when I watch these online, the different ideas and the way that going to these conferences now inspire me are really good. Like, I think that if you're in the information security field, if you're a student like me in the information security field, and you're not going to these conferences, I really would urge you to go out or at least listen, please, on YouTube to these conferences, because like it's really helpful information. Like, you absorb so much, and like even if you don't like catch everything the first time going to these kinds of things, you soak it in and you retain it, and it just kind of melds into making so much sense after you expose yourself to so much of it, you know? So I really liked, and I also want to kind of thank the people that put on Convergent B-Sides this year. I can't call out any like specific names because I don't know all their specific names. I don't just call out a few. But thank you so much for putting this on. Did a great job. And I know you guys said you want to do bigger, better things next year. I'm really looking forward to that. Great job. People that put on the CTF, even the CTF side, and participate in, I really appreciate those as well. It takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of dedication to run that. And I know that the CTF even went down a couple times, and they had to deal with the uptime of the CTF. And there was people that were doing like brute force on the CTF, and I'm sure that gave them some struggles. I really appreciate all the work, all the effort that went into it. Just wanted to thank people.
I agree. I definitely echo that, Kent. But I also think it's important to note that like B-Sides is free, and you get a free T-shirt, and there was free lunch today. So there really is no downside to going to, at the very least, B-Sides each summer for people in this area. But definitely take a look at online talks, see what you're interested in, see what kind of strikes your fancy. See if you can find like a Twitter feed or some other form of communication, whatever fits your learning style. Find it and latch onto that. And I think that's really important to keep up with the awareness and also fresh ideas. Like, you guys are talking about new topics that I haven't heard of. I hadn't heard of Kook before you guys started talking about it, because that's just not in my little bubble. So I definitely think that's an important thing to cover.
Yeah,
also,
definitely.
There are B-Sides everywhere. It's not just Southeast Michigan. There's B-Sides Vegas. I don't know, most major municipalities, I suppose.
Yeah.
They have returned.
Yeah, Calvin came
back.
Comcast saves the day.
And I agree with that, man. It's something like joining even this club this past year. You know, I'm so upset that I waited so long to join this club and like meet all of you, because like not only like are the cons and talks, and Calvin touched base on this in his talk. Like, if you want to succeed in this community, if you just don't want to do the bare minimum, like, you have to dig into it in your own time, right? You're not going to learn everything in school. You're not going to learn everything from a training course. Like, you literally have to kind of take that passion outside the classroom. And honestly, like, the InfoSec community is kind of awesome. Everyone's willing to help. We're all in the same space. And like I said in the club, we all have our niches, right? Like, Calvin does pen testing. Like, Kent, you're probably the best programmer that I know, one of the best programmers I know. You know what I mean? And just like those different areas, like, it's almost contagious when you hear people talk about those things. It's not necessarily in your space. It intrigues you. You dig into it. So even though that might not be your thing, knowing things from that aspect of the field are going to help you accomplish other things and, you know, what you do. It's going to make you more observant. Like, plus it's like awesome to learn, right? And I agree. B-Sides did a wonderful job. I think it's mostly the MySec group that runs it. I'm not totally positive.
Yeah, it is the MySec group that runs it.
I'm definitely looking forward to, in the future, attending those meetings. I know I kind of said I was going to be there this week, but there were some date issues. I thought it was Thursday and not Tuesday. No, obviously I live like a couple hours away, so that was kind of my fault. I should have fact checked, but I'm definitely going to be more involved in the future. I'm looking forward to it. And like Katelyn said, it's free. Like, we literally got a nice, you know, who doesn't like a t-shirt? Who doesn't like stickers? Who doesn't like free lunch? But also the quality of talks, the quality of people there, you know, just the genuine nature of it, I think just makes the whole event awesome.
Yeah, and I will add that there are other awesome B-Sides events in the region. I know for a fact that B-Sides Cleveland is another free event that has, you know, great talks as well. It's a little bit smaller even than B-Sides Detroit, but there are plenty of these things around all over the U.S., even all over the world.
We even put one on, YoloCon.
Yes, YoloCon should be interesting.
Not B-Sides. I mean, I like talk conferences. But
yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. Calvin, did you want to finish what you were saying before?
I
dropping issue?
don't remember.
Okay, it's fine. We were trying to keep it going in hopes that you could reconnect, and then
Yeah, no problem.
Ken and I went into a whole cuckoo rant for a long time, probably longer than it needed to be. But cool, man. So I guess, does anyone have anything they want to highlight? I mean, can we just talk about Pokemon Go for a second? I feel like we
Let's
need to.
do it.
So I grew up huge Pokemon fan. I remember like begging my parents as a kid to go get like the original red version, right? And I was playing on like the old school Game Boy. Like all my friends had like the Game Boy colors and everything, and they thought it was so cool. I mean, I haven't played Go, but wow, like everything that's surrounding this, like there's some crazy stuff happening. Personally, my dad works at the military base in the Southeast Michigan region, and apparently an individual hopped the fence of the military base to try to catch a Pokemon. Like, what in your right mind thinks, hey, I should hop the fence of this military base? That probably sounds like a good idea. Like no, that's not a good idea.
You get the Pokemon.
Gotta catch them all.
That's actually something we were joking about on this last engagement, using that as like a social engineering thing. If you get caught inside the client's building, you're like, oh, it's just trying to catch that Pokemon, man. There's a Pikachu.
That is a genius tactic.
There's
I
actually,
like it.
That's funny. Someone, I can't remember who, I definitely liked it on Twitter. Someone in the InfoSec space tweeted how they got past security at a point because she said she wanted to catch a Pokemon. And she was like, and that's like kind of piggyback after we said, she's like, I just found a new like social engineering technique for engagements. Like, wow.
So now there's going to be training in organizations being like, Pokemon Go users can be evil. Come on.
I mean, the fact that Eastern Michigan even had to blast out an email regarding to Pokemon Go, it completely mind-boggled me.
It's definitely changed how society functions in some ways. At least for now. We'll see if it keeps up. Because that's all. It's also a very sort of, I mean, not that this is the first game of this kind. Ingress, I believe, is what the one before this Pokemon Go was. But the amount of people playing this, the amount of people going outside, like there's enough articles talking about this, that it's, I would say there's some society function changes that this is like introduced in like virtual reality and reality meshing in very odd, interesting ways that I don't think anyone was really anticipating, actually.
I don't think anyone was really anticipating the explosion that kind of happened. It was in really like the first 48 hours, and it was only released in the United States, New Zealand, and Australia. But then, I mean, of course, you see the mirrors popping up, so people in other countries were getting it, and then there's like malicious versions that are out there too. But not even Niantic Labs, who created it, really expected it because they went down so much within the first like couple days of it coming out. The servers were down. Just the sheer amount of people trying to log in, kind of like DDoS their system. So that was kind of interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably not going to install it.
No, I'm still staying away.
Yeah, I think it's more not only just from the fact of like the popularity, but I have work to do, and I tend to like really get into things when I do things. So.
And I know this isn't like 100% indicator, but like if I can't trust their uptime, trusting their security. I know we're talking like a Google branch, or it was Google branch or whatever, but just like that's maybe just I have some questions, and maybe I'm gonna give it a little bit more time to see how that goes. Because also like if I'm, and this gets me a little tinfoily, I understand the tinfoil hatty, I understand, but like if I'm a 3-letter agency and I want to know a lot about a lot of people, that Pokemon Go thing just became an awesome potential source. Am I right?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if we're going to bring up security, which we should, I mean, that's our space, right? So
no.
in addition to, people walking off cliffs, jumping military gates, getting in car accidents, there's some security issues surrounding it, right? obviously the malicious APK that was uploaded to Google Play Store that was very similar in nature to the name. I think it was Pokemon Go Ultimate or something like that.
I didn't know that one. That sounds better. That sounds better.
Well, yeah, right. That's what people are going to think.
Ultimate Edition.
And it was malicious. I know there was also issues with the iOS version with some type of Google authentication.
Yeah.
I didn't really look into that.
Full access to your Google account. So ability to create and delete just about everything on there.
Which I believe they did end up remedying with their latest update.
Yep.
Well, in that case,
0.20.
goodbye. I'm going to install it. Just kidding.
Might as well, Jeff. Join the rest of us.
It does feel a little weird since I don't know if it's because I'm security focused or anything like that, but like since I'm not a part of this Pokemon Go bandwagon, I don't know what I'm gonna call it, the society wave. It's kind of weird to be like an outsider, like looking into other people playing the game and being really like genuinely confused because I haven't actually even seen anyone like open up the app and play. I've been so like not Pokemon Go, and everyone has been playing Pokemon Go and introducing themselves to Pokemon Go. Even my mom texted me out of nowhere one morning. She's like, "Are you playing Pokemon Go? Your sister is." And I was like, "What? What? Like, what my mom's texting me about Pokemon Go just because she's wondering, like, what?" But
yeah, it was almost like when we left Styx today, right? So a few of us went out to Styx after getting back into the Ipsy area after B-Sides, and we were leaving. And me, like the town I'm living in now, since I had to relocate, it's definitely not the same kind of atmosphere as Ipsy. So like I've not seen anybody out. Also, I don't leave my house ever because I work from home and introvert. But like today we leave Styx and there was like 6, 7 people outside just on the way from Styx to our car.
Yeah.
Playing Pokemon Go, and it was just like, and you totally knew they were playing it. It was very weird to see.
They're glued to their phone, looking through, trying to figure that out. They also like walk slower sometimes. Sometimes they also like veer in front of you. It's like people are like in their own little like Pokemon Go zone bubble sometimes, It's definitely interesting to see that pop up. It's, all over.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I think we covered a lot of things, unless anyone has anything in specific they want to mention. I think we covered a lot of topics tonight.
Yeah.
I think this was a pretty good podcast. Obviously, I'd like to thank Calvin, Gavin, and Katelyn for joining us tonight. Hopefully we see you guys in the future podcasts. Maybe not all the time, but definitely, once in a while. We'd like to see you guys join up.
Yeah, we like when other people from our EMUsec family come chill with us and come like hang out, and it's great. I really like talking to you guys. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun.
And the feedback that I got from this the last podcast, like I got some DMs from people on Twitter. I really appreciate the community feedback. We didn't get a crazy amounts of people watching and listening that past one, but like people that did, I'm really happy with the security community and how they like reach out and are very involved. Like, yeah, I'm really happy.
Right, definitely. And I almost kind of see this being a tool for, the new people in the program at EMU. I feel like that's the biggest driver. Like they're going to kind of see, this group of individuals that like to talk security news in their free times at Saturday nights, right? When most people are out doing things, we're kind of sitting here doing a podcast, right? And it's just because it's something we're passionate about and we're all part of the club, and I just think it's really something that might be useful in bringing other people into the club and getting them to meetings and kind of helping them spread their knowledge or follow their passion with InfoSec.
Definitely. Well, I think we're going to call it a wrap for this one. Thank you for joining us tonight. Yeah.
All right, everyone say goodbye.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye.
Love you.
Oh, yes.